Haha, you bitch. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today, I think we're gonna finally get this broken bolt out. I was trying a few different methods and none of them were working. Now, if you look around, you'll see I don't have a welder, but my uncle does. So my uncle is gonna be coming over here pretty soon, and he is going to, what we're gonna do is we're gonna weld a nut on top of this, and then get a ratchet and just very slowly turn it out, and hopefully it doesn't break. I've been soaking this thing in penetrating oil nonstop ever since this whole thing first broke. So I'm hoping that that we should be able to get this thing out. And now real quick, because I have to run to the bank to actually pay my uncle to do this, I just want to give a quick update on all of this. So I ordered some parts last night. And when will they get here? I don't know, because Corona. So I don't know when I'm going to get them, but I'm slowly but surely ordering parts because trust me, this is not cheap for what I'm going to be doing. So I have ordered some parts. They should be in soon, hopefully. Some things related to this and then other things because, you know, I get carried away and I can't help it because, you know, I love this car. But I've ordered some new parts. So slowly but surely, parts will be coming in, and we can start rebuilding this thing. Hopefully by then, this coronavirus thing will go away, or at least be not as severe, so social gatherings can happen again, stuff like that. And so I'm hoping that I can have this car ready by then, which I should. At least for Ohio here, May 1st, they're going to remove the stay-at-home order, and they're going to start opening up certain businesses and stuff like that. I just saw it on the news right before I came out here. But enough political and talk and all that. That's not what we're about. So long story short, we're going to be welding a nut on top of that broken bolt, and hopefully we can get it out. But now I got to run to the bank real quick to grab some money because I don't have cash on me. So I will see you guys when I get back here. Okay, guys, we are back. Now this is a bit of a time jump. If you can't tell, well, you can't see out that window, but it's nighttime and it's been a day or two. Now, I was supposed to have footage. Let me turn that down just a tad. Okay. So I was supposed to have footage of us actually extracting out this bolt, but it didn't exactly go as planned. Now let me show you. Right here in my hand is what's left of that bolt, and these are the tools that we were using, and it did not go as expected. Now real quick, I'm not one that is like snap on all the way, but if it wasn't for this impact, we probably wouldn't have gotten it out. We would have had to have drilled the hole and re-tapped it. And I was very scared that we would have had to have done that, and especially since the fact that this is an aluminum block. And that's what really, really scared me about doing all of this. But thankfully, we didn't have to do that. Now real quick, before I show you the bolt, let me grab what's left of it. We got it out. Now we did kind of mess up this surface a little bit. We accidentally got the torch a little too close and a little too hot right on here, but now that's not that big of an issue because the only sealing area that we really need is right here. Now I will clean this up again, but we only really need just that area for sealing, because as you can see right here, it's just this tiny little hole because the thermostat sits in right here. You got this hole, and then you have a coolant passage. I don't know, let me flip this over real quick. See, you only have two areas that are actually like crucial. The rest of this stuff, it doesn't matter. So thankfully that won't affect anything. But if you look, this side right here is where the bolt broke off. You see how nasty and how much junk is inside of there? That was what was stopping us from getting this bolt out. But, like I said, we got it out. And now a really cool trick that my uncle, he taught me this today, or, when we extracted the bolt, that one of the best penetrating oils is not crow's oil, is not PB Blaster, not anything like that, but actually bee wax. And I mean literal bee wax. Now, they are beekeepers, and so they obviously have a lot of bee wax laying around. Now, what he did is he brought over about the size of a credit card, a flat, like, cube of beeswax. And after we'd heat it up, and I mean, we had to get this thing hot. And after we'd heat it up, he'd hold it on the bolt and kind of let it burn in a little bit. But that worked as a natural, a penetrating substance, pretty much. It goes down in there and it helps break away the corrosion, and it actually lubes it up so that way it's easier to pull it out, which I never knew that before, but it worked amazingly. Now, like I was saying, this was, I think, a 3 or 4 hour long process that took getting that actual bolt out. Now, right here in this bag, everything that I'm about to dump out on the table, yeah, that's what's left of the bolt. We started off with this. Remember in the video when I was originally supposed to do just the thermostat and the coolant hoses, I broke the bolt. Now, remember, it's a pretty long sized bolt, and I had broken it. And at first, I was going to try to use reverse thread or left-hand drill bits, whatever you want to call them. But I was going to use those and hopefully drill in and just extract it and not have to take any of this apart, and I'd be fine. Everything would be good. But it didn't exactly work as planned. And we ended up having to remove the intake manifold, remove the alternator, remove a lot of stuff in order to actually get to this. Now, I'm glad that we did this because none of that, the only thing that is over in this pile that is going back on is the alternator and its bracket, this coolant, or the thermostat housing, the expansion tank, and the coils. Rest of that, none of this is going back on. Back on. I might order a set of underdrive pulleys for my Mustang, and one of them is the alternator pulley. And so while I have it apart, I might do that. Now, that all depends on funding and money and stuff like that. Because do I have the money to just go out and buy all, nice performance stuff to replace all this? Yes, I do, but I'm trying to be conservative here. I'm trying to save my money because I don't want to be, broke for 2 weeks till I get my next paycheck. Enough of me rambling. This was our process. So, after this initially broke, we took out the intake manifold, the throttle body, we disconnected the fuel injector rails and set them aside. We took everything out of the way that we needed so we could have direct access to the bolt and what was sticking out of it. Now, which one is it? It's this one right here. This was our very first try at this. Now, this one was my fault because when I was drilling, the drill went a little bit to the side of the bolt, so it wasn't a perfect right in the center, which I feel like that was also part of the reason why we couldn't get it out. And so we were just going to weld this nut on, which I had went to my local supply store and I got some, bolts and whatnot. And we were just going to weld this and then take it right out, simple as day. But it broke off very easily, and that was my part. That was my fault. So we went, I had 2, thankfully. So we used the second one and that broke. We used the third one and that broke. We used the 4th one, and that broke. But I feel like our turning point was this handy pipe wrench. I don't even remember where I got this thing. I think I found it in the trunk of one of my cars that I bought. I mean, it was just like, I never really had a need for this before until this. And in all honesty, I'm basing our success of getting that bolt out of 2 things. This pipe wrench and this 3/8 impact, because our pipe wrench allowed us to grip on here, and actually we turned it a good amount. Now, as you can see, it completely screwed the threads, like just absolutely ruined them. But that allowed us to really get a lot of the bolt out, but then it broke off. And now when it broke off, we only had maybe, like, you see this part right here where there's no threads? We had maybe a little more than that sticking out of the head. And we had sat there and we talked about it for a good 10 minutes as to what our plan should be. Whether we should try to weld one more nut on, should we try to get at the pipe wrench like that and try to turn it, or should we just, you know, drill it out, or just admit defeat, cut it off flush with the head, drill it and tap it. And we had talked about it and discussed it, and we came to the conclusion that let's weld one more nut on. But our issue was when we would use, because we were using these two ratchets, we didn't end up needing to use this. We ended up just using this one. But it would only go just a little bit, then it'd get snug. So then we'd flip it the other way, it'd go, get snug. I mean, it was just a process, back and forth, back and forth. So we figured, well, what if we use an impact? Because if you guys don't know how impacts work, once they start getting under load and under pressure, it's a hammering. So you have in there how it's spinning. But once it starts to get under load, instead of just a constant spinning motion, it hammers. It'll go back and it hammers like that to try to break things loose. And we're figuring, well, what if that steady hammering actually gets it out? So we had welded a nut on and we got it hot. And at first, I wanted to use my Milwaukee. Now, you know, this is an older 3/8 impact. You know, it barely moves my hand with the torque. And this is the newest model Snap-on 3/8 impact. As you can see, a big difference. Now, I was concerned that that had too much torque. So I'm like, let's use the Milwaukee. I'll just hammer on it. We'll see if it does anything. Well, moral of the story, it didn't do anything. It didn't even budge the bolt. It was budging it just a little bit, but it was doing the same thing as what it was before. Turning a little bit, then getting snug. So I'd reverse it and it'd turn and get snug, turn and get snug. It was pointless. So we welded it, or not welded it, we heated it up and we used our Snap-on one. And this was nice because I can just switch between reverse and forward with ease without having to click the button or do anything like that. And as I was hammering, I felt it get really loose, and so I thought, oh, lovely. We broke the nut off. And then it kept spinning, and sure enough, it came out. So we got it all out, which that's perfect. And like I said, we slightly messed up the mating surface, but it's nothing bad. And so weird enough, the threads inside of there are in perfect condition. I mean, absolutely perfect condition, which blows my mind as to how that could have even broken off. But then again, I ran this screw down a little bit. I cleaned off the end of the threads just to, you know, kind of clean any junk that was out and make sure that it would actually still thread in, and it does. But, you know, as you can see, all this rust was on this one, so who knows how bad the one was in the actual head. I mean, we only have little segments that are stuck in these nuts. It also, another thing that sucks about this is these bolts, they don't sell at any parts store. I mean, they sell long bolts like this. You can go to any harbor, you know, harbor store or anything like that, and they'll have long bolts like this, but not an actual, for this purpose, you know, 04 Mustang GT thermostat housing bolt. Nobody sells them anywhere. But luckily, I found the site that sold two of these for 20 bucks. And now 20 bucks is a lot for two bolts, but nobody else sells them. What I spent after that, yeah, the 20 bucks is chump change compared to it. So I was thinking about it, and I was gonna start buying miscellaneous stuff here and there and save the expensive stuff for last. But I thought to myself, no, that don't make sense because I need to start building up. Meaning, you know, I'm not gonna buy the cold air intake and just have it laying around for who knows however long till I can get my manifold and plenum in. So I'm like, well, let's just start with the plenum, or the manifold, excuse me. So I went on to American Muscle, and I'll show you right here, the Ford Performance Intake Manifold. Okay, so here it is on American Muscle for $253.99. The Ford Performance Improvement Intake Manifold. Now, this was my best bet. And this was all around the best bang for my buck. Because yes, there are other sites, and yes, I checked numerous other sites to try to find other deals, but all around this was the best deal. And plus it was through a company that I've ordered from before, so they know me and I trust them. Now there are other intake manifolds out there that, you know, have, you know, the capability of more power. But, you know, man, that old Brock Victor Jr. manifold is $408. And I don't know if they still have the Trick Flow ones on here. Oh, well, they don't. Well, other sites sell Trick Flow intake manifolds, and they are close to $1,000. Now, $1,000 for an intake manifold, that is expensive. And plus, either way, with how they're designed and how they lay out and everything, it wouldn't be practical for the build that I'm going for. So I opted out of those and figured out that this would be my best option for my Mustang. Now, the only part that did suck about this is, if you can see right here, there's no space for gaskets. Whereas on that one, the gaskets go up in the manifold. You know, it's just a little ring, a little rubber ring that goes up in the manifold. But on this, there's nothing. So I had to buy a gasket set, and they, let me tell you, are not expensive. Or not cheap, sorry. Oh, well, here we go, right here. Driver's side is $28, passenger side is $36. Now, the reason I also ordered from here is because if I went to a parts store, who knows if I would have been able to actually find those gaskets. Plus, with this whole Corona thing going on, you know, I'd rather just buy this and make sure, you know, just know that I'm set and I have the right part. Now, all in all, what I spent just in one night was $360 some odd. Could I easily go on right now and buy the throttle body and the cold air intake and everything that I need? Yes, but am I going to? No, because I need to conserve my money and be smart with it, because this Mustang isn't the only project that I have in the works right now for this channel and for my entertainment, because I love doing stuff like this. My plan, as of now, is we get a new intake manifold. We put in our Mishimoto thermostat, which I have over there in a box, along with the upper radiator hose that I got also from Mishimoto. My goal is to have that on the car, seat it, torque everything down, make sure it's all good, and then, you know, hook up the upper radiator hose and finish everything like that. So all I have to do is pour coolant in it, you know, once I put all the rest of the parts on, obviously, and then start it up and be good to go and not have to worry about it. Now, after that is taken care of, my next purchase is going to be my throttle body, my oil catch can, which I do have a sponsorship through Mishimoto, so I'm going to be able to get a really nice deal on a, you know, carbon fiber, because of course I can't have anything but the oil catch can for my Mustang. And now I also, if you see, the EGR valve is disconnected from, you know, the actual pipe and the plenum, is because over there somewhere in one of those boxes I have an EGR delete kit from SR Performance that I will be putting on our new throttle body and intake plenum combo. Now, the only issue so far has been the fact that, see, I didn't know this, but a company called Lethal Performance sells an EGR delete kit for my car that comes with an end cap for the manifold. But the SR Performance one doesn't. But I have looked online, I looked at different forums, and they just say if you go to Lowe's or Home Depot, you can find an end cap that you can screw on there. It won't mess up anything, it'll work just as well. So that's actually what I'm going to do. When am I going to do it? I'm not quite sure yet. Probably after I have the intake manifold on and everything like that. That's when I will actually fully delete the EGR stuff and get all that prepped and ready. I'm sorry if I'm doing a lot of rambling and talking in this video. I just wanted to simply update you guys as to what is going on and to what to expect within the next couple of videos. I can't really think of much more what to say to you guys. I have laid out my build for you guys, and I finally got that bolt out, which was our main issue with the car. That was stopping me from doing anything, and that was stopping me from ordering, because I was also point with that bolt being broken. It was a deciding factor for me whether what I wanted to actually do with the car from there, But trust me, I am beyond happy that we got this out. I'm beyond happy that we can actually move forward with this car, because let me tell you, for a 2-valve Mustang, this thing is awesome. Once the motor and everything is back together and this thing is back to running again, I have to do some routine maintenance to this car, which includes, you know, a new clutch. Not even so much a new clutch, it's more I need a new throwout bearing because it is going bad. And, you know, I made sure the transmission fluid is good and everything. I actually changed the transmission fluid because the shifter bolts backed off just enough to where anytime I'd be under a heavy load and I would shift, I would be pulling the shifter up, and so fluid would be flying out. And I actually have a video of that. I'll play that for you really quick. If it was a little hard to see, but underneath the car, if you look in the middle, black smoke was pouring out. And that was from the transmission fluid falling off onto the exhaust and burning. My friend actually noticed this the one time we were just messing around heading back to my house. I just, you know, I gave her the beans, and then that happened. And so the fluid is good and everything, so I know it's not a sound coming from the actual transmission. Now, while I have the transmission off, I'm not just going to replace the throwout bearing and slap it back in and call it a day. That will include an upgraded clutch, that will include an upgraded flywheel, new pilot bearing, new throwout bearing. And while I'm all at it, because I want this, you know, easy access, I will be getting a fully adjustable clutch cable, including quadrant adjustments, firewall adjustments, everything. So that way I can easily adjust my clutch and not have to worry about it. So, you know, like I said, when it comes to me doing stuff like this, I'm not skipping a beat. I am making sure that everything is fully covered, so in the future, when I do race, I know that I'll be safe. And if I ever do decide to sell this, I know I can get money out of it because I know that everything is done right. You know, it's done right the first time, so you don't have to go back and look at it for a very good amount of time. But to go back into it, after I do the clutch and everything like that, this thing needs some suspension work and new tires. Now, sure, the tires don't look bad right now, and I can even, you know, I can put a good chunk, you know, of my finger in there. But these things do not grip. I will spin first, second, and third if I just have it matted. I will spin like there's no traction. It won't hook, because these tires are getting pretty bald, and plus they're just not meant for what I'm doing this for. So I do have a pretty awesome wheel and tire setup coming for this car. This isn't going to be anytime soon. This is going to be after my engine's back together and after I have the new clutch and everything in. That's when this will actually go into play. But just until then, expect a very unique and very cool wheel and tire setup, along with a full suspension and brake upgrade all the way around. I can't go into too many details just because I don't want to hype you guys up for something that might not happen, whether the part gets discontinued or I change my mind or this car goes in a different direction, or just because of the fact I don't want to spoil a surprise, because, you know, there's no fun in spoiling a surprise. But that's going to wrap it up for tonight, guys. I'm sorry that this video seems boring, and I'm sorry that I'm rambling a lot. I just wanted to inform you guys on an update on the car, that we finally got that stupid bolt out and we can finally move forward. But that is going to be all for tonight. I hope you enjoyed. As always, be sure to drop a like down below, subscribe to this channel for weekly updates. Lately, because of the lack of content and whatnot, my uploading has been a little spotty, and I'm sorry. But from here on out, it's going to be every Tuesday and or every Thursday of the week. Expect one of those 2 days to have an upload. But enough of me rambling. Have a good night, guys. As always, I'll see you in the next one.